Hi everyone. If you've been to my channel before, welcome back. If you are new, my name is Ross and I'm an intuitive counselor. My passion is working with women and men who are tired of living their life for others and feel ready to put themselves first. Today I wanted to talk about the idea of embodying the one who knows. And this is some messaging that is new to my website and has shown up recently, and I really like it. And I wanted to share a bit about why this is important. What is it? What does that statement mean? And how it relates to this arena of personal growth and learning about yourself and ultimately healing. And so I'll start with, how does this come to be? Like, this idea of what is the what is the original kind of piece that leads to and let me just back up a sec. So when you think of embodying the one who knows, it kind of implies that there might not be a relationship with that part of ourself that knows. And that's where I want to start, is talking about, how does that part of ourselves get hidden? How does that part of ourselves get suppressed? Um, and it really comes down to this really interesting thing that happens is, when we first come into this world, we are most connected, closest to the essence of love. We're very aware of the love that's available to us in this world. And as we start to experience, life in this world, we start to realize that we're not getting the love that we know is available. And so we ask ourselves two fundamental questions. And the first one is, um, what do I need to do to get more love from you? So, what do I need to do to get more love from you? And this is a question that we would ultimately ask our caregivers to begin with. And then this is a question that we would carry on into all of our relationships, whether it's a teacher at school, whether it's our intimate relationships. And we start to live our lives based on that question. And the other question that we bring in is, what parts of myself do I need to hide in order to get more love? So, what are the ways of being that I show up with that are no longer okay and aren't acceptable? So think about, going to school and the way that you show up for your friend group and the way that you perceive that they need to see you. And you might hide your special gifts. You might hide your sensitivities. You might hide, the things that you're interested in order to have connection. And so that pattern repeats itself consistently through life. And what can happen is, later on in life, we realize that we have been there for everybody but ourselves. And that is a rude awakening. And when I think of my relationship to this pattern, it definitely showed up early in life. I had some early experiences that created these core beliefs. And, the first one that comes to mind is, I got electrocuted when I was 2 years old. I stuck a pair of tweezers in an electrical socket. My mom had this, vanity mirror. And I remember my hands being black. Um, and so this is a memory that came back later in life. And as I worked with it, it revealed to me this core belief, which was, I'm bad, or I've done something wrong. And so um, that core belief became like almost like a filter that I saw the world through. So it was like I always had this wondering, or this belief, that someone was thinking that I was doing something bad. And that would show up in ways of, like, my boss wanting to talk to me and thinking that I'm in trouble would be the first thought that I have. And uh, that's just one example. But the thing is, and the reason that this is so important, is because we all have this part of ourselves that knows, this part of ourselves that intuitively knows. You could call it your inner guide, you can call it your inner knowing, you can call it your the voice of your soul. It is a very, very intrinsic, powerful part of ourselves. And when we suppress this part, we're not living our lives in an authentic alignment. And eventually that becomes a problem. Eventually that starts to show up in our relationships. And we start to have this sense that something isn't right, or something needs to change. And eventually life will bring us circumstances and situations that call us forward to that realization. And the thing is that when we start to listen to that part of ourselves, when we start to align with that part of ourselves and start to give it space to speak and give it space to guide us, then we show up in a much different way energetically. And we also feel better about ourselves because we can feel that internal alignment is, I guess, the best word. And from that place, life becomes easier. Life becomes more fulfilling. Life becomes more joyful because we're doing the things that we want to do rather than doing what someone else wants us to do or how someone else wants us to be. And conceptually, that sounds really simple, but it's not because most of us are unconsciously living in codependent relationships and there's an enmeshment happening and we're looking outside of ourselves for something that has always been inside of ourselves. And so that piece of turning inwards and turning our orientation inwards, um, it's actually quite the big journey to take. And I remember having to do that for myself. A relationship ended and I was just like, I need to live for me. And that was really the beginning of loving myself, taking actions for myself, being responsible for myself. And that changed the trajectory of my life drastically. And I was able to source from a different place. So, this idea of, what do I need to do to get more love becomes how do I source love from within? And the parts of ourselves we need to hide, the opposite of that is what parts of myself do I need to let shine? And ultimately that is the journey. It's like, and it's not a simple one. And so I really love helping people to reconnect back to themselves and find that voice and tap into it and to start playing with how they can show up in their lives with that voice and the actions that they need to take and the choices they need to make. So it's just there's so much that happens once that door opens. And so um, it's such an important piece, such an important piece. And when we, like I said so many times, I think living with that voice and allowing it to shine through, it just changes everything. So I think I'll leave it there for now. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider sharing it with others. If you think someone might be interested, please consider subscribing by pressing the button below. And if you're interested in the work that I do, you can visit my website. The link is in the notes below. And I just wanted to finish by sending love to everyone who's watching, and I will see you next time.